Okay, so let's start from creating a .NET Core web app and implementing task CRUD operations. Let's open Visual Studio, create a new project, .NET Core. We will create a MVC app. Here we go. Let's say task management. Let's save it into a folder and let's click on next. Select the version which you want to have. The latest stable version is 9.0. So let me select the .NET version. Okay, here we go. Here we have a controller, program. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to create a task management app, which means we will create a CRUD operations for tasks. User can create a task, update task, delete, and uh, can view the detail, as well as he can see the list of all the tasks available, and then he could edit those any of the tasks from that list. So we are going to implement this functionality. So let's see how to implement this. Okay, so let's create a task controller first of all. Task management controller. Let's add a views. Here we add a view. Let's say uh, create, edit, detail, and then remove. Task management. Let's add views one by one. Let's give it a name, create. Index will be used to have a list of all tasks. Create will be used to create a task. Edit will be used to edit a task. And remove will be used to view all the detail of a specific task and then remove it. Okay, so we are done with view creation. Now let's create a model quickly. Give it a name, task management model. Management model. To create a task, what we will need to have, the property of form would be ID, title, task title, task description, let's say default value would be string.empty. Let's say public task start date and task end date. So these would be properties of task. Now we will create a task. What I am going to do, I am going to migrate some of the code from my other editor to Visual Studio. I will push this code to the repository. You can check this on a Git repository. Okay, so this is the code which I have added as we create a task management model. I have just added a collection. I just bind a collection with this view, index view, and the titles would be ID, title, description, start date, end date, and their values here. You can check this code. I will run and show you. This is the code which I have added for index.html. This is what I have added because we want to add a task. So here would be one model instead of collection. This is the code. I will add this to the repository as well. You can check the repository as well to view the code or to test it. Okay, this is the edit. Here is the remove. Okay, so now let's move on. Go to the task management controller. Now we could see that index.html required collection of task management model. If we will run without collection, we will get an error. Let me show you quickly. Let's go to the task management, and we could see that we are getting null reference exception. First of all, let's add a link here to redirect on a tasks list. Let's go to the shared layout where we have a privacy. Let's have a list for tasks, task management, and here we will have index, and here we will have tasks. Okay, now we will have a list in menu. Okay, now let's move on and create a list, private, read only, task management model, and here we create a list of tasks. It should be the list. Okay, and now let's initialize this list. Let's say underscore tasks. Let's add a default value to show you. ID 1, title, description, test title, title, start date, date time, dot now, dot add days. Let's add a 1 day. Start date would be of tomorrow, end date would be after 5 days. Dot now, dot add days. Let's say 5. Okay, now let's return this list to the view. Now let's quickly run this and see. Okay, we have a task. Click on here and you could see that we have a list. Start date of tomorrow, end date would be after 5 days. Okay, okay, so now work on a creation of task. This is a get method, so let's add a get verb here. Let's create a post method to create a task. Post. Let's secure this with validate anti-forgery token. It will receive task management model, and here what we will do, we will, if model.state is valid, then we can simply add a task to the list, task.add model. Okay, okay, let's run it and quickly check we are able to add task. Let me add a debugger. Let me quickly go to task, create new, test. Let me select the task, start date and end date, and let me click on create. Okay, so we could see that in a list we have a task. Okay, so task is added, but when we will go to the list, list will get re-initialized and recreated. That's why it would be empty. So we need to add a temporary store to store a data that we will use to show on a front end on a list page. So let's do that. To store data into memory temporarily, we need to add some packages. We need to add SQLite as well as entity framework. Then we would be able to use we would be able to store data into memory, and then we could use. To do that, we need to install these packages: Microsoft Entity Framework Core, in memory Entity Framework Core .SQLite, and Entity Framework Core .tools. I have already installed these packages. You need to install these packages. Please do that. And then we could simply create a context. Let's create a DB context. Let's create a class, give it a name, task management context. Okay, let's inherit this DB context. You could see that it is coming from Entity Framework Core. So make sure you have installed all the packages that I have mentioned. Okay. Where we will call to the constructor of the parent, which is options. Let's pass it task management, context, options, and options. Now let's create a new table. Set. Let's pass it task model. Okay, now we have created our DB context. Now let's register this into program.cs file. Services.add DB context. Let's say DB context task management context options options dot use in memory. Use in memory database, and here we will pass the name of table that we want to save into memory. Let's okay, now let's inject this into our controller. Let's say task management context underscore context, and here let's inject it task management context. Let's say here context equal to task management context. Now what we would do when we will create, we will simply add into context dot task dot task management dot add async. We will add a model and then we will simply save it. Save changes async. Now what we will do here in index, we will pass a list of tasks context dot task management dot to list. Okay, here we go. Let's, because it is not using anymore, let's remove it quickly. Okay, here we go. Let's build and see it's working. Okay, now let's test it. Go to tasks, create a new task, new task. This is task. Let's say it would start on 9th and end would be 14. Let's create it. Go to backlist. Okay, here you could see that we have a task. Let's create another one. New task 1, new task 2. Let's say it would start on 7 and end would be 15. Let's go to the backlist. We have a second task, new task 1, new task 2, 7 and 15. So this is how we have created a task and pass a list or collection of tasks to the front end. Now let's work on edit and delete and detail. Okay, so now we have a list of tasks. On click of edit, we are passing ID to the controller. In controller, let's create a edit get endpoint. Okay, let's say it's a get, and this one is a post. Int. Here, as you could see that we are receiving ID. Now let's get the tasks using ID. Keep it simple as much as we could. Okay, now let's see, we are getting the task in edit form. Click on tasks, click on create new. Let's say task 1, description. Let's create here and create. Now go to list, we have a task 1, click on edit and see we are getting the task. Okay, so we are getting task detail. What we are doing when we click on edit button, this method is calling this one and we are getting result on a front end. Now let's work on post method. This one is a post method. Let's say validate and forgery token. It will receive task. Let's say task. We need to find a task here as well. Let's quickly find the task. Okay. Task.id. .id. Okay. DB task. Now let's simply update the DB task. DB task.title with task.title. Similarly, description, start date and end date. Description, start date and end date. Start date and end date. Okay, and then we would simply save it. Context.save changes, sync, and here we go. Okay, we are good to go. Let's test quickly. Everything is working fine. Make sure everything is working fine. Okay, go to tasks. By the way, when we rebuild the tasks which are in memory, they get uh, lost from the memory. Task 1, task 2, let's say 10, 20, create. Let's add another one, 3, 3, description, create. Go to the list. Let's add this task and see it is working fine. Okay, description, let's make it 6, 6, and let's see 11 and 21. Go to the list and see. Okay, we could see that task is updated successfully. Okay, so we are done with edit functionality as well. What we will do in case of remove, here in list we have a remove action. When user will click on remove, we will redirect on a remove view where he will have a detail of task, and at the top we are asking, are you sure you want to delete this? If he will click yes, we will hit a delete action where we will remove task from a list. So let's do it quickly. Here we do have a remove http get. In index we have a remove action. Let's, it is receiving ID, so we would simply get a task using ID. Okay, we have a task now. That's fine. Let's pass this task to the view and see if it works. Now let's run it quickly. Remove management controller, remove. Okay, here we have let's create a task. Task description. Back to list, click on remove. Okay, so you could see that we have a back to list which is working fine, and we have a remove. Here we have a delete button. If we will click that, we need to implement a functionality that will delete this task. Let's implement the delete functionality. Let's say this is a HTTP post. Let's say this is delete, and here we will have a ID. Okay, so we simply need to Okay, so we simply need to remove this. That would be await, let's say remove. Okay, then what we will do, we will simply call to context dot save changes async. Okay, now we will redirect to index view. Okay, let's run it and see if it's working as expected. Six, 6, create 8, 8, create back to list. Okay, let's delete this one, task 6. Click on remove. We have a task 6 and see if it works as expected. Let's go to delete. Okay, we have a task object. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so we are getting object reference not set to an instance of object because when we are removing object from our collection, we are redirecting to index view. Instead of that, we need to redirect to the action instead of view, to action, which is index. When we return a view, basically we return this view, HTML of this view, but we want to call this action instead of returning view. We want to call this action. Okay, so now let's test this time and see if result comes as expected. Let's run. Task, task 1, task 1 description, task 2, task 2 description, go to backlist. Let's remove a task 1. Okay, click on remove. Okay, so here we can see if we have removed task. Now let's remove this task as well. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we are done with all CRUDs that we have implemented in this session. Okay, all CRUDs are done. In next session, we will add Azure Entra ID authentication. Uh, in a we will create an app in a tenant that we have created, and then we will create a custom user flow to implement login and registration. We will do these things in next sessions. To push the code, I have created a branch and repository on GitHub. That is a public repository. In that repository, I have created a branch with the code that will contain all the code that we have implemented in this session, with the number of video, right? The branch will contain the number of video as well as the title that we have implemented today with CRUD operations. I will share the branch name as well in a description of the video. You can find that. You can find the code in that branch of the repository. Thank you. Bye.